It's pretty amazing doing deep breaths with a Breathworks practitioner for some reason. Your breaths have such a weight and like impact to them. You really feel it when you breathe next to you.
Nice. No one's ever shared that before, but yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jungli fam, how's it going? To my right, I have a very, very interesting individual who, through a chance encounter in a cafe in Scotland, found his way to Jungli. That's a story we do have to share at some point. But I am so thrilled to introduce Jake to the Jungli community and to the Jungli podcast. He comes from Scotland, but home is such a bigger topic than just where you're from. I think that's a common theme for all of us. And he is a Breathworks practitioner, and now in a process where he's finding ways to make that work, make it work online, go maybe the freelance route, the writer route, the content creator route to some extent as well. So I'll let him share more of the story. But firstly, man, it's such a pleasure to have you at home. Welcome to Jungli. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me here. Yeah, really excited to be here and have a chat.
Awesome, man. I think let's start by telling people how we found each other. Most people that have come have either I've met through my travels or one layer through that, maybe through the community. Jake is one of the most unique stories. Back 2 years ago, I was living in a camper van in Australia, and I lived in a town called Agnes Water, where next to my van was this Scottish dude called Jamie. And Jamie lived with Katya, his German girlfriend, and we became such close friends, like absolute homies. Shout out to you, Jamie, if you're watching, you made this happen. I then, left Australia. Jamie, I guess, continued to Scotland, and that's where he bumped into Jake. How did that happen?
So I was working in a cafe and a hostel on like the north coast of Scotland.
Yep.
So the north coast of Scotland is a very isolated, very remote place. Like It's the end of the line, like complete middle of nowhere. And Jamie just walked in one day and he ordered a coffee. And he showed me your Instagram profile. He showed me the Jungli website, and I was like, "Wow, that looks like really interesting." So I hit you up, and then like 2 weeks later, I came.
You showed up like It was the wildest thing. I love that these. It's too synchronous to be real, almost like you can't script this stuff. So it's magic, man. You obviously were meant to come here, and you fit right in. So let's go ahead and start to get to know you, man. I'd love to know about your roots. You're obviously from Scotland, but can you tell us what your roots are? Maybe about your family or your upbringing, what your childhood was like in Scotland?
Sure. Yeah, so as I say, I'm from Scotland. I am from Glasgow, so I'm a Glaswegian. I grew up in the East End of Glasgow, and Glasgow has got a bit of a kind of notorious history, a bit of a kind of, rough around the edges kind of feel about it. And growing up in Glasgow, where I lived was okay, but I was sort of, the suburb that I was in between like 4 of the most deprived areas in Glasgow. So it kind of created this like really interesting bubble of people merging from different parts of Glasgow. And Glasgow can be a little bit like territorial. So it's like if you're from one part of Glasgow and you meet a guy from another part of Glasgow, you can kind of have like a little bit of
butt heads.
Butt heads, and it can be like a little bit of tension. So growing up was like a little bit chaotic, really, when I reflect on it. Like at the time, you just think it's normal.
Right.
But then you meet people who don't grow up in Glasgow, and they're like, whoa.
That's not normal.
Yeah, that's totally not
He
normal.
was telling me about some of the violence and stuff he's seen or been around in school, and I was like, dude, did I grow up in an upcoming country or did you grow up in a first world country? Like, these stories don't match. I feel like I had such a peaceful childhood here in Dandeli, and hearing about your story in Glasgow, I always imagined that it would be pretty peaceful, but yeah, pretty hectic stuff.
Yeah, school was definitely hectic because of what I was saying about the territorial aspect of Glasgow, and because my school, the catchment area, was from all these different, they call it like projects in America, like
Okay.
different estates.
Yeah,
where,
yeah, yeah.
And people are quite proud about what estate they're from.
Yeah.
So it created this kind of like battleground. And like one short examples, one day I was in the cafeteria and there was like a group of popular kids who were maybe like 17, 18, and there was a boy who was a little bit overweight, and you could tell that maybe he was getting bullied or something, and like there was maybe like 100 people in the school cafeteria.
Yeah.
And he just picked up his chair and he just started laying into him.
Jesus.
And we had a police officer on campus,
Yeah.
who was like 6'7", massive, huge guy.
Yeah.
He just like jumps into the action. Fists are flying, chairs are flying.
How old are you?
14?
This is wild,
14?
man.
14?
Was the kid okay?
No.
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 No, it was full contact to the face
My gosh.
with the chair. Yeah.
What a gnarly beginning to life.
Yeah, it was, to be honest, when I reflect upon the whole school experience, it was really character building.
Yeah,
It really taught me like how to diffuse situations. It taught me how to like communicate with people. I was very good at adapting into the environment. I was
Right.
good at like making people laugh and being silly and funny, and that was my kind of way through the chaos.
Yeah, Jesus, that's rough, man.
Yeah.
So how did you go, like, growing up and then you get out of school and I guess you're always like looking over your shoulder in a place like this? How did you find, like, I don't know, did you have any experiences that allowed you to see that that's not normal, or that normal is location based and that different places have different norms?
Yeah, I guess like growing up and going to the other parts of Glasgow, like, yeah, I'd say most of the chaos part is kind of regimented into the east side
Right.
where I grew up, and the rest of it's like
Pretty nice.
an affluent
Okay.
metropolitan place where people from all over the world, we've got like some of the best universities in the world, and
Okay, cool.
so the rest of you don't feel that at
Yeah.
all in the rest of it. I never felt at home in Glasgow. Like I've always was really resistant to it. I was just quite like a daydreamer, so I'd always dream about foreign lands and places.
Okay.
And when I was younger as well, like I actually moved to China. So I lived in China from the ages of 6
Shit.
to 9. And then that kind of planted the whole dreaming aspect. And,
So you knew about life outside Scotland, whereas
Exactly.
maybe most of your friends, I'm guessing,
Exactly.
they didn't
You
really...
hit the nail on the head. Most people that I grew up with didn't know life outside of Spain or Portugal.
Right.
Because most people from where I'm from, that's where they would go on their holiday like once or twice a year. They wouldn't go like anywhere else. They wouldn't come to India. They wouldn't go to Thailand. They wouldn't go, to these far off kind of distant places.
Yeah.
They had like quite a regionalized view of the world, shall we say.
I see, of course.
Yeah.
So, how was your time in China? You were 6 to 9. That would have had quite a lasting effect on your life. How was it going from Scotland to a place that's pretty opposite in its culture?
Yeah, it's a great question. Again, I was so young at the time. I remember, and I think when you're young, even like at the age of 6, you can adapt and mold quite
Yeah,
easily.
true.
And from what my mum says, she said that basically I was like a fish in water. I loved it.
Oh, yeah, okay,
And
cool.
I just
Just chopsticks, like, let's go.
literally, and I was got right into it. I went to an international school. I had friends from all over the world.
Cool.
It's kind of like memories are like crystal moments. I don't have like a linear idea of what went down during that time, but I have very like poignant moments of memories in there. But that definitely, I think, was the thing that was the seed to want to travel, because I had already a taste of like what was outside of Scotland.
Right, right.
So I do think like that experience really inspired me, led me to where I am today,
It planted the seed.
for sure.
assimilating your time in China, I'm guessing it quite had an impact on you. And I know you're quite the traveler. So what inspired your first solo travel or, experiencing life outside Glasgow as an adult?
I always knew that I had to get out of Glasgow, and it was always like this little voice in the back of my head. And basically, I was with a woman at the time, and things were getting quite serious. We had a long distance relationship. She was in Glasgow, I was in Edinburgh, and she decided that she was going to move to Glasgow, and we were going to like take it to the next level.
Okay.
And then that was really the catalyst of being like, I don't want to be in Glasgow anymore.
Right.
So that was like a huge thing, because it was like we were really close and we really and it was quite. She was like the only kind of serious like relationship that I've had. I'd say.
Sure.
So basically, we were like, what we're going to do. We basically decided to travel together for 3 months through Southeast Asia.
Cool.
And then she would go back home, and then I would go to Australia.
Okay.
And then that 3 months was like a kind of like a celebration of the 2 years that we'd had together, and a kind of last chance, not a last chance, but like a
last dance.
a last dance. Yeah, literally it was.
Bro, that's so beautiful. I feel like I could make music about that feeling of
It
like,
was.
when it's gonna, unfortunately, there's a fork in the path ahead, but you treat it with love and fun, and let's live in the moment rather than just wallowing in the sorrow of it. I'm sure there was an element of sorrow.
For sure. When she left.
Oh, man.
That was when the first time I was truly solo traveling.
Right.
So we'd just spent these 3 months together, and it was an amazing 3 months. We went through Thailand, Bali, Cambodia, completely eye-opening. And she left when we were in Bali, and I remember both of us just like tears.
Bawling.
Just bawling. She went away, and it was like, she left really early in the morning, and it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I just walked to the beach in Bali crying to myself, watching the sun rise.
Wow.
And I'm not a big crier. I really struggle to cry.
Okay.
So when I do cry, it's like, it's really
You cry for Scotland?
Yeah, literally cry for Scotland.
Wow.
And then that was the moment I was like, wow, okay, I'm alone now.
Damn, man, what a feeling.
Yeah.
And from there, you went straight to Australia and had a great extended solo experience.
Yeah. So I got to Australia, and for the first couple of weeks, I was just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, my head was spinning.
Your heart's ripped out.
My heart's ripped out. I was missing home. I was missing her. I was missing everyone. And then basically I discovered this volunteering opportunity at like a yoga ashram just outside of Sydney.
Yeah.
And before I'd went away, like I had kind of tapped into yoga, I tapped into meditation, I tapped in a little bit to breathwork, but the strands or like my old life kept like pulling me back.
Right.
So I'd do a little bit of yoga, but then I'd go get like fucked up at the weekend or do you know what I mean? I could never find any consistency.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll give this a go. And in the ashram, it was no alcohol, no coffee.
Wow.
Men and women slept in different places. And, at the time I was 22, I was a heavy smoker. I'd been smoking tobacco since I was like 15. So...
Damn.
7 years.
Start them young in Glasgow?
Yeah, we do. We start really young in Glasgow. Same with drinking, same with, other narcotics and all that. Like, so to go somewhere and to not have any of that was like a huge thing for me.
Good on you, man. Like, just going straight into discomfort.
Yeah, it was massive. I remember waking up like sweating in the middle of the night.
Really?
And,
Withdrawals?
Like, withdrawals. And I don't know if anyone's ever tried to stop coffee. But if you stop drinking coffee after drinking coffee for a long period of time, you get this like crazy migraine. It's only for like 2 or 3 days, but it's like really intense. So that whole first month was this mad process of unwinding. And I like to say, like, can we swear?
Of course.
Oh, unfucking all the shit that I had to go through, like, as a child and as a teenager.
Yeah, like shedding all those parts.
Literally shedding all those parts. So,
is that where you first experienced breathwork as well?
So I'd experienced breathwork before, and I experienced the power of it, but I had no consistency.
Okay.
So during this time at the ashram, we were all like encouraged to cultivate like a spiritual practice. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to practice breathwork because I'd done it back home
Yeah.
and I'd felt the immediate effects of it. So lo and behold, I practiced and then I become like obsessed with it. Also, at that time, I used to have a lot of breathing problems. So
Yeah.
I could never breathe through my nose, and I'd always have like a blocked nose. I'd always have like a cold.
Right.
I'd always be blowing my nose. And if you've never been able to breathe through your nose, and all of a sudden you can breathe through your nose again,
Best feeling.
it's like wow, like it's like unlocks like a new level of life.
Oh my God, that's
You
so
know?
crazy for me to think about. I just take it for granted that I've
Yeah.
been able to breathe through my nose. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's so cool that you now landed at Breathworks because you were a heavy smoker and you couldn't breathe through your nose. Like
Yeah.
the odds were stacked against you.
Massively.
Yeah,
Massively.
You would have maybe veered towards doing something with your hands and legs, but you're like, no, I'm gonna attack this problem right here.
Like, I was not in a good place. Like before I went to the ashram, you know, I was not treating my body well. I was in aches and pains. I wasn't sleeping great. And yeah, going through this process of really dedicating myself to the breath, it was just like wow. Like the best way to describe it is like a new level
Of life.
of life.
That's
And
awesome.
everything was more vivid, everything was more clear. I was sleeping better, I felt better in my body, you know, I was focusing better. Yeah, it was just life changing.
It's been pretty incredible to like wake up in the mornings, and I don't know if you know this, but like when I come out of my room and I look to the right through this balcony door, I can see Jake just sitting there deep in breath, and it's like the morning mist is still around him. And it's such a beautiful sight to see someone else starting their day so consciously. And it really motivates me as well to then, you know, some days I do yoga and swim every morning, but some days are busy. Especially nowadays that we got a full house, which is fun. But I wake up and I'm like, oh, maybe today I just skip yoga. But then I see Jake doing his thing and I'm like, I love that discipline. Like, even if I do 5 minutes, that's better than skipping. So, yeah, thank you for like carrying a practice on. And just by you doing it, it's encouraging others to do so as well. So you found your breath work and then I guess you continued your trip and you did the hard part and the not so glamorous part of backpacking in Australia. Can you share about that as well?
Yeah, so I met a lovely person from the Netherlands. So we ended up working on an almond farm together.
Yeah, cool.
And you know, I'd never worked on a farm before in my life. I didn't even know like how almonds were like harvested.
Yeah.
And basically, we rock up on the first day, and there's this big, massive, huge machine that's almost like, you know, when you go to the arcade and the thing comes down to, it's like that, but for trees. So you're driving this tractor and this arm goes out and grabs it, shakes the tree, and all the almonds come down. And bear in mind, like, I didn't have a driver's license at this point. I'd never driven a car. I'd never operated any machinery. And they were like, yeah, here you go, mate. And also, you know, it's like 35-degree heat. The aircon is like minimal. It doesn't really work. So it was a real trial by fire. And, you know, what I learned at the ashram really helped me to stay, you know, calm under pressure, coming back to the breath and using the breath as a tool to navigate moments of stress and navigate my emotional state and be in control.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what I learned through the breath was I was in control.
Yeah.
My emotions are not in control. My thoughts are not in control. You're in control.
Right.
And the controller is the breath.
Oh my God, that's
You know?
awesome. Yeah. I did a 10-day breathworks experience in Uttarakhand, which is the foothills of the Himalayas. I've told Jake all about it, of course. And it changed my life. Not just the continuous connected breathing, which is this really difficult thing to do, which kind of gives you this like psychedelic holotropic and like rebirthing experience, and you really shed a lot of, I don't know what birth trauma or what it was, but all I know is I felt lighter after it. But what was more of a takeaway for me was I actually learned how to breathe, and a lot of us haven't been taught. So I wanted to ask Jake, I know it's a bit of a tangent, but would you mind sharing either your top 1, 2 or 3 tips that someone that's watching can just take away that's super easy, actionable and sustainable for them to do to help them navigate their moments of stress?
So number 1 always sounds really obvious and really simple, but you'll be surprised how many people don't do this. 99.9% of the time, you must breathe through your nose.
Right.
You must breathe through your nose while you're awake and while you're sleeping. A lot of people breathe through their mouth when they're sleeping and they don't actually realize that. And when you're breathing through your mouth when you sleep, you're not accessing the restorative levels of sleep.
Deep sleep.
That are actually healing your body and are actually replenishing the things that you've lost through the day. You're basically sitting at this surface level and you're missing out on all this,
All the good stuff.
restorative breath, restorative healing. A lot of people as well, when they're exercising, especially jogging, might be breathing through their mouth. A lot of people, when they're like focused, sometimes breathe through their mouth. And I know that because I was a mouth breather. So I was a mouth breather I had braces when I was younger. So these braces kind of propelled my mouth open, and it really, and that basically exacerbated the issues of not being able to breathe through your nose.
Through your nose, okay.
Because if you don't breathe through your nose, it makes it harder to breathe through your nose.
Right, there's resistance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that would be number
Nice.
that would be number one tip. Breathe through your nose 99.9% of the day. Number two would be become aware of your breath.
Okay.
So throughout the day, begin to shift your awareness to your breath and notice your breathing. So actually notice how you are breathing. If you're breathing from the chest, if you're breathing from the stomach, if your breath feels short and sharp. From awareness is where we make the adjustments and when we make the corrections. Because if you're not aware of your breath, you might be breathing dysfunctionally, and you're not aware of it,
Yeah.
So I always invite people throughout the day just to check in with your breathing.
It is one of the most involuntary actions, but if you do become aware, it can have such a profound impact to your quality of life.
Exactly. We breathe over 20 to 25,000 times a day.
Yeah, right.
And none of them we're conscious of.
Yeah, unless you try.
Unless you try. So that would be number two. Number three, slow down your breathing. Slow down your breathing. So but you don't have to breathe at a certain tempo or a certain rate, but just consciously slow down your breathing. So whether you're, going to bed, before you go to bed, take 3 to 5 deep, slow breaths through the nose.
Right.
And you'll start to feel a shift and a change in how you are,
So true.
When we slow down our breathing, we send signals to our body that we're safe. We start to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. We start to activate neurochemicals in our brain like serotonin that help us to relax. Like anxiety and stress and all these things are a huge epidemic right now.
Oh, yeah.
And people are reaching for pharmaceutical intervention first.
Right.
What I would say is learn to slow down your breathing. Just learn how to slow down your breathing first.
Yeah.
See how that feels.
Don't reach out for the stress meds.
Don't reach out for the stress. They have their place. I'm not anti-pharmaceutical. They are valuable and they definitely work. But I truly believe that a lot of people are reaching for these things when they could come to easier solutions and more accessible solutions.
Yeah, that are right there in your body.
Like the breath.
Yeah. That's really awesome. Those are 3 really solid tips, I think. I learned one in Himachal that I'd like to share, and I'd also like to fact check, of course, because there's someone here with a lot more knowledge. But something that they taught me in Himachal is that when you do breathe slow, so everything he said, be conscious of your breath and then breathe slow. But then when you are taking those slow, long, deep breaths, they actually taught us how to breathe. He did this exercise where he asked people, when you breathe in, should you breathe into your stomach or should you breathe into your chest? And, the crowd was divided. Some was like stomach and some with chest. And, in a classroom environment like that with adults, especially the spiritual kind of market, let's call it, there can be people that are like, I know this because this is the right way because I have studied more. Yeah. And he was just sweetly hearing everyone's responses. And then he told them that they're both right. And they were confused. And this guy, Mahesh, he's a guru of breathwork. What he said that you're meant to do and how our body's actually designed to take deep, long breath was that you have to first breathe into your stomach. And then when you think you're full, if you bring your consciousness to your chest, you can actually then breathe into your chest. So it's... And it was such an aha moment for me that I could breathe in so much deeper. So I just want to check. I don't know if it's a different practice or what, but is that something you
It's
agree with?
100% correct.
Right.
It's a very interesting way to frame that question as well, because initially when you said that question, so you breathe in through your stomach or through your chest, I would always say stomach.
Yeah.
You breathe your stomach first.
Stomach first, yeah.
You
That's
breathe
what
your
he said.
stomach first, then you can actually begin to fully expand your rib cage,
Yeah.
and then bring it up to your chest.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, breathing in that way is the fully functional way of expanding the whole rib cage.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
you get a good
Yeah,
solid breath.
yeah.
And then when you do, then you add on that, you do 10 solid slow breaths like that. My God, you really do feel a difference. And then even the sides of the rib cage expand. So it was actually,
Yeah.
and exhaling is the opposite.
Yeah.
Chest out, then stomach out.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was just a little tip I wanted to add on to this little breathing workshop that this has become, that I think is so valuable to,
Yeah.
to learn how to breathe right.
Yeah, and there was a study that I read that basically saying your lung capacity is directly related to your mortality rate.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
people
right.
with lower lung capacities or weakened lungs, or not fully maximizing the depth of their breath, are going to have like a higher mortality rate. And then that exercise that you share is a beautiful way of bringing awareness
down.
and realizing that your ribcage expands in a 360 motion.
Yeah.
It comes at the back.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Yeah,
It
it's
comes
like
at the
starts
back.
from there, doesn't it?
It comes at the back and it comes here.
Yeah.
And people forget that the diaphragm is one of the biggest muscles in the body.
Yeah.
And it's not only just for breathing, it helps everything. It helps stabilization. It helps to enhance oxygen flow. So like a lot of people have got underdeveloped or weak diaphragms
Right.
because they're not taking that
Using that muscle.
full breath,
Wow. See what I mean? When he breathes, it's like this balloon going off next to me. So cool, man. I mean, obviously, breath is your passion. It seems like something you were born to do. We were lucky to also have a session where Jake came into the office and taught our Jungli team a breathwork session. And we're definitely stoked to have another one with a more full house. And we have new people coming in and out all the time. Can you now tell us a little bit about your journey starting to realize that picking almonds isn't your favorite hobby in the world, but sometimes you got to do the grind, and that's character building.
Yeah.
But how did you go on this journey of following your breath as a pathway to building an alternative life? And of course, it's still in process, which is great. Like I don't think anyone is there. It's
Yeah.
all about the journey. So tell us about this journey. How are you going with this? Let's call it freelancer or practitioner,
Yeah.
or however you'd like to describe it.
So at the time of this story, COVID happens. I'm still doing almonds.
Okay.
And I basically decide that I'm not going to stay in Australia anymore because of the lockdowns, and I was in a really regional area, and I decided to go back home to Glasgow. And when I was back home in Glasgow, it was really tough for me because Glasgow was the place that I was trying to escape and I was trying to run home from, and I only got 1 year out of Glasgow.
Yeah.
So there was a real big adjustment period, and I'd be living in Australia and going from Australia to like the Glasgow winter is a big shift. And
Yeah.
it's it was quite hard.
Yeah, I can
And then
imagine.
all of a sudden I saw this Facebook advert for a breathwork instructor course.
Oh, cool.
And COVID was happening, we were all locked down. I thought, what, perfect. So it was a 4-week basic course learning how to the basics of breath, so to speak, and I absolutely loved it. And then
Was it online, I guess?
it was online. It was through it was an amazing organisation. Absolutely loved it. And then I just started sharing.
Okay. Yeah.
And it just grew and it just grew and it just built. And then I started doing workshops. I started
Damn.
working with people 1-to-1. And, at the time in Glasgow, there was nobody doing what I was doing at all.
Right.
And people didn't really get, they were like, breathing? Like, I breathe every day, do you know what I mean? So it was a bit of a tough crowd.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough crowd, but once I could get people into it and get people into the experience, they were like, wow.
Yeah.
And that's what I really try and focus on with breathwork is we could talk all day about how breathwork works and why it works and
Sure.
the science behind it, but you're not going to fully embody that or believe that until you experience it.
Correct.
You know, and that's what you experienced when you went to that retreat.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
and now you're like, woofed, I get it.
Dude, I so get it.
So basically, I was doing that, and I was working jobs as well. So I was working whatever I could do. I was working in retail, I was working in hospitality.
In Glasgow.
In Glasgow.
Back home,
I'm a serial job hopper. So
Yeah,
like,
cool.
I really struggle to stay in one job for like long periods of time.
Yeah.
So after like a year, I'm like, I need a new job.
Need change.
Yeah. So was cycling through different jobs, and whilst it was all just kind of building in the background.
Of course.
And then I had a really potent plant medicine experience.
Whoa, really?
In
Scotland?
Yeah, in Scotland. And there was a woman there. The plant medicine was moving through her in a way that she became almost a conduit.
Oh, yeah.
A conduit for the messages.
Yeah.
And basically, she was a woman who didn't follow her heart and went the traditional path, became a lawyer, you know, although deep down she wanted to do like what her heart desired. And during this plant medicine ceremony, I felt all of her grief.
Wow.
And I didn't just feel it, like it was embedded in my bones.
My God.
Like it was this wave of intense grief. And I just had this message repeat in my mind, like, time is sacred.
Wow.
Time is sacred. And it just kept going and going and going. After that plant medicine experience, so I've been dabbling in breathwork for about 2 years now. So at this time, I've been doing workshops. I've just been doing it whenever I can. And at that time, I was like, I need to go full in. I can't just keep putting 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Chicken footing.
I need to commit.
Yeah.
You know? So walking away from that, I was like, okay, I need to get a bit more serious about this, you know? And then at the time, I was starting to build a little bit of a community in Glasgow around the breathwork and around other things. And life in Glasgow was feeling kind of nice.
Okay.
But circling back to Australia and COVID at the first time, when I left there, I was like, I need to come back.
Right.
So that Australia called again, and I was like, I'm going to go back to Australia, and I'm going to use this traveling experience as a tool or as a way to go full in on the breathwork. Because traveling the first time was completely transformational.
Yes.
It 360 changed my whole personality.
Nice.
And then I was like, I need to go back. You know, I need to finish.
Now that you have a purpose or a focus.
Exactly.
An intention, really.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
nice.
Exactly. So that was the driving force behind that. And I knew that if I didn't go back traveling, that I would regret it. And that was reason enough to go.
Yeah, of course.
You know.
Of course, cool. And so you started first with like offline sessions, like one-on-one sessions and learning from there. And now recently you've also moved into the online sphere and also starting to see, you know, the roots of revenue or the shoots, I should say. I guess anyway, the plant medicine story got me into plants analogies. But anyway, you're now starting to see like the beginning of a new revenue stream and a new way of working ahead online. Yeah. So now I guess that we've heard a little bit about your context and who you are and this focus that you had. You then wanted to go on this travel with an intention, which brought you to Junglee as well.
Totally.
So could you tell us a little bit about why you chose to come to Junglee and what your intention was coming here, and also how your time here has gone towards fulfilling that intention so far?
So I really wanted to find a place where I could land in India that was, you know, immersed around nature, that I could be like left alone, but also I could like interact and meet different people and get back into the good habits of producing content, doing my meditation practice, working out. And really the intention was to find discipline again.
You know?
And then obviously we had that really synchronistic moment with Jamie.
Correct.
And I was just like, that is it.
That's it.
Yeah, because basically I was just going to find somewhere in India, maybe like Goa, and just like rent a beach shack for a month. And just have this same kind of intention. But just that. And then I was like, Junglee was like an already made version. But with like bells and whistles on the top. You
What
know,
were the bells and whistles for you? Because
the bells and whistles were like the food.
Oh, of course,
Like
yeah.
having the food, the Wi-Fi.
Right.
The bells and whistles was like the actual bungalow
Yeah,
itself,
right, of course.
and the pool. You
Nice.
know,
It's
like,
always good to get a perspective because, of course, don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful and I know the blessing that we have over here as a family, which we're honored to share for the first time and really open our doors to a selective audience. But as the founder of this place and running the vision, I'm still so in phase one. And phase three is what I call bells and whistles. And this is like phase one. So it's so cool to hear that. It's a reality check that, hey, actually, to a solo traveler traveling, this is already bells and whistles,
Yeah,
and it's already pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. How's your time here been so far? And feel free to be absolutely honest, only so that other people can learn what works for them and what doesn't work for
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
In terms of going after your intention here.
It's been incredible. It's been really, really amazing. Like I've been so inspired here. Like I feel a lot clearer in my head. I feel lighter in my body. Like the jungle around here is like nothing like I've ever seen before.
It's pretty nuts.
You know, and I've done my fair share of nature and been in different environments, and like the jungle here is just like the diversity is just incredible.
On the drive here, we just saw a herd of deer and we just
Yeah.
paused for 5 minutes and stared.
And you've been amazing. You've been really amazing. So
thanks,
I need,
brother.
need to shout you out. Like you've been so caring and attentive, and like really wanting to make sure that everything is okay. And like you've just been like really kind and.
Oh, cheers, man. That's very kind.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been amazing. I've been really enjoyed it.
It's so nice to be able to share it with good people like yourself that bring a good energy, that enjoy, clean living. Of course, everything in moderation, but generally this place is one where we're valuing relaxation, creativity, and productivity. And it's so good to see someone else that's like owning, especially the relaxation element and helping share that. This community that's watching, I'm sure they resonate a lot with your story, with breath, with everything you're doing, and they want the best for you. How can we support you on your journey? Do you have Instagram channels that we can support? You started a newsletter recently.
Yeah.
What are the links that we can put below or you want to share where we can support you?
Instagram's is the best way. So it's just at everyday_breath.
Nice. Clean.
And that's basically, that'll show you like all the content on Insight Timer.
Okay.
So, Insight Timer is a free app. So I really encourage people to explore that.
Can they go on Insight Timer and search for you?
Exactly. So if
Okay.
you go into the link in bio on my Instagram bio, you'll find my profile link there. Once you click that, that'll prompt you to download Insight Timer.
Yeah.
And then once you download Insight Timer, you have access to all the content on there.
And it costs nothing for the user,
It costs nothing for the user.
but it rewards you.
It does.
That's
It does.
amazing. I'm
It
sure,
does.
the people that end up watching this, if that's one little step that we can take just to support a friend
Yeah.
who's on his journey, I'm sure like that would go a long way. So
Yeah.
awesome, man. It's been
Thanks,
great to
man.
chat to you, bro.
You too, mate.
You want to stand up and show people how tall you are?
Nice one, man.
Awesome. Superb.
Yeah.